Okay, happy Monday to nobody here that's here live. It's okay. I have... There we go. Oh, it's nice and focused. Not bad lighting. This is just natural light from the light you see reflecting off my glasses there. That's just from outside. Sunny San Diego in the morning, which is not always so sunny in San Diego. Today we're going to talk about money. It's been probably the subject I've studied most in my life, other than studying myself. So I feel like I know a lot about money. Fuck, I don't know. These days I don't know what I know, what I don't know. One thing I've learned in life is that the more I learn about things, and I've made an intense effort in life to learn a lot of things and take deep dives into, I don't know, just whatever I want to learn. And I used to think I know a lot because I did that, and I've studied a lot of things, but I don't know. It's a weird thing as you get older, and as the more things you know, like you honestly, you develop this sort of wisdom that you realize, man, I don't really know anything at all. And the stuff that I used to think that I know, it's all different, and so it starts all these philosophical questions. And money's a big one. It's probably one of the biggest philosophical questions we have, because it runs our fucking lives. Should we know what it is? So let's talk about it a little bit. So today's episode, Money Monday. I will probably curse a little bit, hopefully not, but fair warning, parental advisory. Explicit content, potentially. This is all my own opinion. Do your own fucking research. This is not financial advice. Trading is risky and you will lose money. We talk about trading from time to time here. And in fact, here's our Mogul Apprentice schedule. We have Money Monday, talk about trading and markets and how to leverage money through different kinds of trading. Tech Tuesday, we talk about bleeding edge tech, where the world is heading with Internet 3.0 and the emerging of cryptocurrencies with data and all of that sort of craziness, and how AI is playing into stuff. We're going to talk about that tomorrow probably. And then Freaky Friday, we talk about all kinds of stuff. Road to Freedom show is one of the things we have once in a while. Freaky Friday is the chance to just talk about whatever I like to talk about. Kind of over the aliens thing. I'm honestly, with my entire history of research in aliens, which has been most of my life, I think it's all just a bunch of bullshit. We're being led to believe something. We're being set up for something. But anyway, we'll talk about it on a Freaky Friday. For today, Money Monday, let's talk about this. What is money? And when you actually question somebody that, and they don't have Google around, and we're just one-on-one conversation. I've done this several times. I ask people, what is money? And even though money, the singular thing that controls all of our lives on some level, most people can't even tell you or give you any sort of a reasoned, thought out answer to this question. What is money? A lot of people just jump to, oh, well, it's a way to buy things, so I got to work so I can buy things. Okay, well, a 5-year-old can give that answer. Think about this shit, man. This system of money controls your fucking life. Shouldn't you understand what it's all about? Like, more than anything? One of my favorite Chris Rock stand-up specials he did. I'm just going to paraphrase it, and I'm going to blow it badly because I'm not Chris Rock and I don't remember it completely. But the joke was essentially, we all have a one-world religion. We have all these religious wars and things and arguments and shit, but the reality is, when you really take away all the filters and bullshit that we fool ourselves with, we have one world religion. Chris Rock said it funny. He said, we all worship at the church of ATM. We all worship money, man. It's our fucking God. And I'm not immune. I'm not throwing arrows or whatever the fucking phrase would be, but throwing rocks, throwing stuff. My brother and I once got, I don't know why I thought about this. My brother and I, this is the 70s growing up. It was our thing. We got, for a while, we did this for like a summer, I think. We used to get in rock fights. We'd stand in the middle of a creek in a small town where I grew up. There was a creek that was probably, I don't know, it's several miles away, and it's a difference in the 70s too. Like, we were like under 10 years old. Preteen for sure, and we were miles away from home, and our parents had no idea where we were. We would swim this creek, and it was fun. I wouldn't put my big toe in that creek today. That thing was gross, dirty. Who don't even know where it came from? Just a creek in the middle of nowhere. But we got in this thing of rock fights. So we'd stand like, I don't know, as far as an 8-year-old could throw a rock, maybe like, I don't know, say 50 feet away. And we would just throw rocks at each other and just see if we could hit each other. Until my brother actually threw one and hit me in my head and split my head open. Or, I think it might have been the other way around. I think I might have split his head open. One way or the other, one of us threw rocks and got our head split open. That's a tangent story that doesn't have anything to do with anything. But, shouldn't you know the answer to this question? Was money. And no, it's not just a way to fucking buy things. So I study money a lot. I've spent nearly in my entire life of trying to understand what money is about. I remember in the 70s, I'm just going to guess and say 1976, because I distinctly sort of remember something about the bicentennial celebration for the United States that summer, the 200-year celebration of 1776. So I remember my parents went into a furniture store and were shopping for living room furniture, like a set, like a couch and a table and a matching chairs and the whole thing, And I remember they were looking at all the prices and they were debating about which one they should get, based on the price. And I remember asking my dad, because none of it made sense to me. Like, it's just as a little kid, without any sort of filtering or propaganda has been laid on top of my head, it didn't make any sense to me why the different couches or different living room sets had different prices. I just didn't get it. I was at that time I would have been 6 years old. So I asked my dad, I said, well, why aren't all of them just a penny? Why isn't everything just a penny so we can just get what we want? And then we can use our money for other things. And I don't actually remember the answer that my dad gave me, but I do remember a couple of years later, he gave me a book and he said, if you read this book and investigate it thoroughly, you will fully understand how money works. And that book was, I'll just find it on Amazon for you so you guys can have a link if you want to get it. Classic. There it is. It's called None Dare Call It Conspiracy. They have it on Audible, on audiobook. Really great book. And it lays out how the United Nations works, the Federal Reserve works, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the Trilateral Commission, and how all these world organizations own and control all the media and everything. So this book was written in 1971. My dad gave it to me, I think I was 8 years old. And from that time forward, I've made it a life study to understand money and how to create it, how to generate it, where it comes from, why is printing it do certain things, where does all these derivatives come from. So most people would look at something like this, a chart like this, and say, this is money, right? Well, this is a chart of our money. Is this money? It's a chart of the Euro-US dollar relationship, which has been falling and falling and falling. You scroll back and look at a lot of history. Look at this thing dropping and dropping. I mean, this is a 4-hour chart, meaning that's the one I kind of look at now a lot. Meaning each one of these, they call these candles or bars. Each one of these candles is 4 hours of time. You can view these charts on tradingview.com. It's free. It's a fantastic free charting software. I cannot believe it's free. They are insane for not charging for this, but it's free, whatever. So use it. Each one of these is 4 hours. So let's scan out, let's zoom out a little bit, go up to each. So each one of these is a day. Let's even go each one of those is a week. So this is zooming out way. So we're looking all the way back here to, this is 2018. That way we can just go back. 2007. So you can see what's gone on since 2007. I mean, look at this. A 5-year-old can tell you that this has gone down. Well, what does that mean? What's gone down? Is this money? That's the question. Is this money? If it's gone down, what does that mean it's gone down? Not many people can even explain it. Even people that trade this shit can't even explain it. I've asked them. I've met hundreds and thousands, maybe thousands at this point, traders over the years. Instructed hundreds myself personally. Hardly anybody can answer the question, what is fucking money? So is this it? This is the Euro-US dollar. This is the dollar index. Is that money? What else we got here? The gold index. Sport gold trust shares. This is the West Texas oil. This is what the price of oil that determines your second god you worship, which is oil and energy, more specifically. Here's Bitcoin. I'm going to go back to my 4-hour chart. World famous smoke and mirrors Bitcoin. Is this money? This is the S&P 500, which is the index of the top 500 companies in the world. Well, certainly in the United States. In the world is debatable. This is a chart, the index of that. By most traders, it's called the broad market because it's really the probably the most accurate indicator of the stock market because it's 500 companies. It's an index of what's going on in 500 companies, 500 best companies. I'm just playing with the chart time here. I'm not liking any of these. Anyway, it's the S&P 500. You've heard of it. It's probably the single most traded instrument there is outside of currencies. A lot of things are weighted against the S&P 500 because it is the 500 biggest quote unquote best companies in the world, or in the United States, should say. So there's a basket of those, and they weight them different ways, and then they make an index out of it. And what happens is that index gets traded, and that index even is traded in its own futures contract on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And the swap between these two is called arbitrage. So the S&P 500 cash index is what you see quoted on all the news channels, on the newspapers, which is what you're seeing on the chart here. This is not actually traded anywhere. This is just a number. It just goes up and down, just like the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is a basket of 30 companies. The S&P 500 is 500. So this is why most traders pay attention way more to the S&P 500, and most traders trade against it in some fashion. In fact, most hedge funds and most traders in general mark their yearly results against what the S&P 500 did that year. That's just how they quote it. It's normal. So the S&P 500 is the benchmark, right? So trading against this and trading with this is the cash index that you're seeing. There is a futures index, which is, it means there's a contract on it that expires quarterly. And so what it allows people to do arbitrage against the time delay factor that happens in futures contracts every quarter. So they expire every quarter, and what's built into them is time premium. Because they expire, it means they've got a time premium built in, but it means that the closer that a futures or options contract, a futures contract, the closer it gets to expiration, the theoretical value is worth less, regardless of the underlying movement of the index that it's against, that the futures contract is against, just simply because of time. And that's how this is traded. So what happens is, whenever you get close to expiration date on these futures contracts, the time factor ramps down to nothing. So the time factor on these things always is ramping down like this. And the closer you get to an expiration date on the calendar, the time factor eventually goes to zero. So let me move this here. I don't want to confuse you guys with this. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So a futures contract, it's created here, and it's got a certain amount of time premium. That's this delta here. And then over time, as you get closer to expiration, this time factor goes down and down and down. Okay, so you guys understand that. Now, this is important to understand. Most traders don't really understand this, and it's the basis of how all this shit works. It blows my mind that most people don't get this, even veteran traders. So here's how this works. So as that time factor is eroding, what happens is this S&P 500 cash side trades a little bit differently in price than the S&P 500 futures contracts, even though they are weighting and indexing the exact same things. Because the S&P 500 contracts, futures contracts, which is one of the most highly traded instruments in the world, that's why I'm talking about all this. I'm belaboring this for a reason. Because as we get deeper into this in future weeks, and in the trading videos you guys have seen me done in the past, you see when I show you very clearly where I can predict where the market is going to turn almost to the penny a lot of times in the future, because everybody trades off of the S&P 500, and I made a 2-decade study to understand what's going on here, and I can tell you almost all of it, more than 95% now of trading that goes on in the marketplace is automated, completely robotic. The fantasy of you see people that are on commercials or whatever, they're picking up their phone and they're making trades on E-Trade or whatever, that's the 5%. The rest of it is automated trades. I know it. I've documented it for 25, almost 30 years now. I can tell you where these things turn and why these gaps here happen like this, and why it turns around right here and goes down to where it does. There is a system to it. There's a method to it. It's super easy to see once you understand what to look for. So what happens here is that the S&P 500 cash side trades a little bit differently. Even though they are indexing the same things, the exact same 500 companies, the futures contract has the time factor that's always kind of fluctuating. And you see this on CNBC as, what do they call it? CNBC's got a they used to have it quoted heavily. Let's see if they got a pre-market fair value. Here's what they call it. You'll see it quoted often on CNBC or Bloomberg or any of the like financial stations, and it's called fair value. You can see it right here. Oh, come on with your fucking ad blocker. No, I'm not turning it off. Okay. So here you got S&P 500 mini. A mini contract is it's electronically traded contract that was developed in the 90s. I was one of the first in the world to trade it. It was a wild fucking time. Now it's kind of the normal how everybody trades. But it's 100% electronically traded contract. That doesn't mean it's all automated. It's just completely electronic. So the futures fair value, which you can see in the middle of the screen here. Let me make this red so it'll show up a little bit differently. Right here. Futures fair value. Most people don't know what this means. Even though they quote it, they put it on the front on the screen before the open every day on CNBC and Bloomberg and any other of the financial channels. It's there every day, and most people can't even explain what the hell it is. I'll tell you what it is. It's the difference between the S&P 500 cash index, which I just described to you here, which is not really traded, it's just a number, versus what's really traded, the S&P 500 futures contract. The difference between those two makes a spread, and that spread, let me just draw some pictures here so it's very, very clear, kindergarten clear. How about that? So the S&P 500 cash index will trade like this, just theoretically, over the course of a contract, like say. Well, the futures contract will trade like, it'll be a little bit higher because it's got time premium built in. And it also, because it's electronically traded, it tends to have a little bit wilder swings, kind of like Bitcoin trades, because Bitcoin is almost all automated trades too. So the futures contract will trade like this, except you can start to see it'll get a little bit more whippy. So start to see. Now I drew this way intentionally, not just because I'm bad drawing and these are supposed to match. No, they don't match, because the fluctuations throughout the day and throughout the weeks and throughout the quarter, as this thing starts to expire and the time premium runs out, creates these fluctuations. Well, in there is something, what happens called arbitrage. And the biggest, governments do this. The largest hedge funds in the world, the biggest mutual fund, governments, trillions of dollars are traded this way all day, every single day, when the market's trading, that is, for the S&P 500. And the reason they do this, because what you can see here, let me get a different color. what you can see here is the difference between here. That's not a good color. Let me do a different color. Let me just show it better. Yellow. The difference between here and here is the spread. Okay. Well, it doesn't mean much, except for those spreads always come back to zero again on expiration day of the contracts. Well, this is majorly important. This is why I want to help you guys at least start to begin to understand this. The fair value price that they quote minus 217. That's the spread between the two plus some carrying costs, because it's not free to hold these. So what it means is what's the actual value if you were holding an entire basket of all 500 company, one share of all 500 companies stock, and holding it for that entire 90-day period while the futures contract expired. And this goes on to the tune of trillions of dollars every quarter by governments and the biggest institution there is. Every bank trades them. This is part of how money is created. Because what happens here in this arbitrage thing, at the biggest level, if you've got enough money, it takes hundreds of millions of dollars to do this. But if you've got enough money, you can trade that spread between the two. Let me pop this back over here. And trade this fair value number and make free money, risk-free money. That's the important thing. This is why it's so big, because they created this system on purpose so they can make money by scalping this, taking out little pieces of our lack of knowledge, our meaning the entire universe of totally retail traders. By retail, I mean, you know, just everyday people, not commercial banks or, you know, people that have trading floors. Retail traders, not commercial traders. They just peel this off. So what they do here is to make this risk-free trading is at the beginning of the quarter here. Let's just map this. So this is a quarter. They have different buy and sell triggers that are these automated systems do, and they all trade completely off of not just some price stuff, but off of this fair value number. Because when this spread, you get some little volatility, especially in the middle of the quarter, you get some volatility and the spreads get wider. That creates a giant arbitrage opportunity. Arbitrage means, at its core level, an opportunity that has no risk, that you can take advantage of in a short time and then the window closes. Well, these arbitrage trades sometimes happen in just a few seconds. That's why they've got to be managed by bots. So these trades that go and last for a few seconds, in the early days of the E-mini S&P 500, I built systems that did this, and we built our own weighted index arbitrage. So you hear this in financial circles referred to as index arbitrage trading. It's huge. I mean, it's one of the biggest trading vehicles in the world. So, and it's done because if you've got enough money to be able to hold that many stocks, you've got to hold all 500 companies throughout the entire quarter, and then whenever the futures contracts expire, what you've done effectively by trading all the way through here, which I'll talk about in a second how it actually works mechanically, what you've done is at the end of it is you've been able to capture and strip out a lot of the time premium built into futures contracts. And it's hundreds of millions of dollars, but it costs hundreds of millions of dollars. It's hundreds of millions of dollars a year. The percentages are relatively small, and the holding costs are pretty high because you got to hold that stuff for that time, and then you got to insure it, you know, in case for catastrophic thing. So, but when it all shakes out, and at the end of the quarter, the contracts expire and everything, and then you've closed out all the positions that you have on trading, all of the stocks in the S&P 500, then you've made money and you didn't risk anything at all, ever. The reason you didn't risk anything is because you're trading the same instruments against each other. So what happens here is whenever an arbitrage opportunity happens, let's make it green. So the S&P 500, the futures contract is trading at this price. The cash side is trading at this price. So what you do is you start making simultaneous trades. On this one, you sell the shit out of the futures. You sell. I want out of all the futures I've got. And at the same time, you are buying the stocks. The S&P 500 really is weighted against those 500 companies' stock price. So you buy the stocks and you're selling the futures. And eventually, these come back to something called parity. And then then whenever the prices match and that arbitrage opportunity shrinks up, then you stop trading. And then whatever position you've got in stocks, then you're holding, and then whatever position you've got in futures contracts, you're holding all the way until expiration. And this happens literally thousands of times a day, all day, every day, because it spreads constantly changing, and these bots are always capturing every little bit of this. Well, that amount that's able to be captured minus some holding costs over the quarter is where this fair value number comes from, and this fair value is CNBC's own number. It's not a rock solid number. Everybody calculates their own fair value because everybody trades this idea a tiny bit differently. For example, I did it with weighting. Weighting meaning I didn't want to hold on to all 500 stocks, because some of these 500 stocks do nothing. They're boring. So why would I hold on to them for an entire quarter? Just you got all these holding costs and you're tying up a whole bunch of money. Doesn't make any sense. So we started weighting the trades towards the stocks in the 500 that are actually moving, and we got down to, it's an 80-20 rule, so we got down to where we ended up trading just around 20% of the S&P 500 on the cash side, and then of course we balance that out with trades on the futures side to keep the portfolio even on each side. And what it did was it exponentially increased the returns and kept the risk the same. The risk at the end is effectively zero. It's literally creating money. It creates wealth out of nothing. So why do I explain all that? Because I want you guys to understand that it's the core of, like, it's just how the shit's done. It's not how money's created, but it's certainly how it's moved around, and sure looks like it's created in a lot of ways, and it sure pads the pockets of the wealthiest, most powerful people on the planet. Because guys, I know I developed in the early days. I personally spent 3 years of my life working 14, 16, 18, 20-hour days sometimes programming, testing systems to trade this stuff. I built some of the very first automated trading systems to do index arbitrage using electronic trading in the late 90s. I was there. I did it. Worked with the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, Peregrine Financial. Look at their fucking history. I can tell you that none of that is money. That is a fucking shit show. It's an invented thing to keep control over us. So everybody's got a different answer for money. I've got my own answer. I'm about to give you my own answer. It's not like anybody else's. I'm not going to crack open fucking economics books. I'm not going to start spouting Keynesian debt-based economic theory, which is what we've got, which I'll talk about in a second, actually. I'm not going to explain to you the difference between that and Austrian economics. I'm not going to do all that because that is important on some level. I'm not going to tell you how to trade. I'm not going to tell you how the Federal Reserve works and how that's a giant scam and how money is printed and how the Treasury has to pay money to the Federal Reserve to have money printed, and then the way money is actually created whenever you sign contracts, whenever you create a mortgage application or you do a credit card application. I'm not going to explain all that. I could talk for hours upon hours upon hours about that, because I studied it to death. I've made it a life study to understand every fucking thing I possibly could about money. I'm not going to tell you any of that stuff because all of that is derivative of the real answer, which I believe is a real answer. What is money? Money is an invented system of control. That's it. All of these machinations and all this bullshit like this and these charts and all these complicated things I'm explaining to you, it's people just invented shit on how to fuck each other over more. None of this is money. And if we're going to talk about currency, because people start thinking, answering the question, what is money? With, well, it's a dollar, or it's, well, all kinds of things have been using money throughout history, shells and gold and wood and swords and in some video games online, digital goods are used as money. No, that's all currency. That's a way of moving money around. What is money? There's some feedback here. Background music's putting me to sleep. Kind of me too, a little. But it's kind of my mood. It's kind of what I listen to when I do live streams anymore. I just want to have a chill conversation, and it keeps me from used to going on too many rants. Good. Hey, Andrew. Did you ever see the movie Margin Call? I did. Yeah, great movie. I tend to watch a lot of financial movies. They're all bullshit, though. All these financial movies are propaganda to keep us all playing in this game. Money is an invented system of control. Here's what I call it. Money is the matrix. I think it's the literal matrix. Have you guys ever studied the book of Revelations? I made it a life work for a big chunk of my life. I grew up in a very extremely strong, strict Christian home. And we had to study the Bible daily, multiple times a day, and I ended up reading the Bible more than 20 times, front to back, and I made an in-depth study of it. Anyway, we're not talking about the Bible, but there is an important piece here to the Bible. There's a quote. I meant to put this in quote marks. We'll just pretend that they're there. This is paraphrase, obviously, depending on your translation of the Bible. But there's a passage in the Bible, a very famous one. It's about the mark of the beast, 666. In the end times, whenever the beast, the Antichrist, reigns supreme around the world, he puts in a system where no one can buy or sell without the mark of the beast. Hey, Rick Lowry. Hey, JP. No one can buy or sell without the mark. Well, I grew up, being raised in fire and brimstone Pentecostal Christian churches, led to believe that that's a literal thing where you're going to have a mark on your forehead, like a brand or a tattoo or a UPC code, or or on your hand. That's what the Bible says. Well, I believe, this is my firm belief, just after studying this enough, I really believe that the mark of the beast, this whole end times thing, no one can buy or sell without the mark, is our modern day debt-based financial system. It's completely invented out of thin air by a whole bunch of guys that just wanted to keep control of things. Congressmen, specifically, central bankers type people. Just go read the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Just understand how the Federal Reserve was created. Centralized banking. But this, I mean, it's way before Federal Reserve, even all the way back to Roman era. Central banking has always caused a problem because they want to always try to strip out money out of the system for themselves. And regardless, today we've got a system where you cannot fucking survive. You can't buy groceries. You can't live in a house. You can't do anything unless you've got the system's currency. You got to buy in with their debt. You've got to trade it, and every time it's traded, because they are all Federal Reserve notes. Look at them. They all say Federal Reserve notes on the top, and a note is debt. It's a promissory note. So a promissory note. So every time you exchange dollars, it's a debt. You're exchanging debt back and forth, and every time that exchange happens, the debt increases. That is why we have inflation. Part of the reason we have inflation. It's a closed monetary system. You can't just create your own fucking money and then go exchange them at the Federal Reserve Casino. You have to do it through their contracts. That's why cryptocurrencies have been such a big deal, because that's exactly what these crypto guys trying to do, is they create their own currency outside the system. But these crypto guys continually peg it back to the system that they want to defeat. Anyway, I don't want to get up on a crypto thing. Important point here is that money is a control system. That's all it is. It's a fucking game. It's all a game that we've decided to play. It's no different than a video game. I'm telling you, I am stepping into the role of Morpheus, and I'm telling you, Neo, wake the fuck up. You're trapped in the Matrix. Here's how you crack into this thing and turn the Matrix into a tool to build your own wealth. First of all, you gotta understand the wealth that you're creating is fucking bullshit. It's no different than any of all this super complicated charting, arbitrage, S&P, blah, 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 blah I just explained to you. Wealth is bullshit. It's in your head. When you understand that wealth is created by what you do in the Matrix, you can start to bend this thing and make it do what you want. Because think about the movie The Matrix. Whenever Neo woke up and he got out of the Matrix, did he just stay out and just like, oh no, I'll just live in this underground city forever? Fuck you guys. I'm sure he did for a while, but that would be boring. They wouldn't document that. No, what did he and all the, I guess, freedom fighters, I guess you'd call them, or terrorists, depending on your angle, your perspective. No, what did the other people that had broken out of the Matrix do? What did they do? They went back in. They even created their own little sub-matrix so they could practice fighting and jumping and all the things. Learning new skills. How is this any different than the world we live in now? It's not, and here's proof. I'm not going to give you some... I mean, I could go on for hours giving you the scientific breakdown of the proof, quantum physics, and the whole fucking thing. I can tell you how it works. Physically. Here's the real answer. The simple one. Here's how you know that this is all an invented system of control. It's a matrix and you can escape at any time you want. Is right now, you could just stand up wherever you are, not grab anything, walk out your front door, walk out into the woods, the desert, the mountains, whatever isolated area is closest to you. And I guarantee you, wherever you are, I don't care if you're in the middle of New York fucking city, you don't have to go very far before you be out in the middle of nowhere by yourself, where there are no S&P 500 or index arbitrage contracts. There's not even any fucking internet connection. You can go out right now and nobody could stop you because it's not illegal to just go live out in the wilderness by yourself and say, fuck the matrix. I'm not going to be a part of it anymore. People do that. I did it myself. And I can tell you what I learned was, it's pretty fucking great for a while. But then it's just boring. Because there's this whole system that's this thing we call society. Society is nothing but a game that we invented to fuck around with stuff. And so people that want to control other people use society and use things like societal contracts, these invisible contracts that we make with each other, that, oh, we're going to abide by this set of laws and we're going to do these certain things so we can all get along. It's all invented bullshit, guys. I'm not saying it in a bad way. It's all fine and great. It makes for an interesting way to experience what we are here to experience. However, I want you to understand it's not fucking real. We invent it with our just beliefs. When a little kid comes out of the womb and starts being raised up, it would have no idea what any of this shit. To a kid, this is a game that you could do with crayons on the, I'm thinking chalk on the sidewalk. Hey, what's this fun game? How do you make the numbers go that way? How do you make them turn green? We invented all this. We invented a system of laws. We invented a system of money. All of this just so we can interchange with each other and kind of control the shitheads amongst us. But what happens is we all become too trusting, and then the shitheads take over, and the shitheads have dumbed us down so much with lack of education and with lack of awareness. They just intentionally keeping us distracted that we don't even know. People can't even tell you what money is anymore. And if they do give you an answer to money, they're going to give you some Wall Street answer or something that they learned from school that's all another bunch of fucking invented bullshit. It's all created by other people to tell you how to live. Well, if you don't want to live inside this matrix and you don't want to say fuck all your society's contracts, I've been there, believe me, and I'm on the edge of that constantly. You can just say fuck it all and go down to Mexico. You can live right on the beach in Mexico and have beachfront property. There will be nobody around you forever. Perfect weather, plenty of coconuts to eat, white sand, blue water, right in Mexico. Not even a few miles from where I live right there. Or you want to go in the mountains, you can go do it. It's your choice. So if you're choosing to stay here, then stop bitching about the game and play the game. You are choosing to be here. The proof is that you're not somewhere else. And yeah, everybody says, well, I got family and blah, 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 blah. Okay. I understand that. Family and friends, and that's what it's some of the things that makes life interesting. But it's still just a part of the game. And if you're not able to have open conversations like this with your friends and family, then those people are still just in the matrix. And there's nothing wrong with that. Fuck. I have been the guy. I can't never remember his name. The character that he had been in the Matrix, and he turned on everybody, and he wanted to go back in. He's making a contract with him. He said, "I want to taste steak, or I want to take a steak to taste like steak." I've been there, man. I've been where I've gone through the whole waking up thing and realizing what's around, and then fighting against the machine, all the way to giving a finger to the machine and just going away. I spent 2 years just disappearing. Played it. That side of it. I left society. I said, fuck all of you. It's a stupid game. I was just angry about it. But I can't be angry about it. Why can I be angry? It's just a game. It is what it is. It's like being mad about Monopoly or some sort of video game. That's the game. You're in the game. And if your friends and family are in the game so deep that they've lost track that it's a game anymore, then that's fine. Let them enjoy it. That's part of the reason why we are here on Earth as some sort of whatever we are, energetic, infinite beings enjoying a limited experience here. I finally got why the Buddha said life is suffering. That one's been rattling around in my head for a lot of years. You think about it, life is suffering. Well, that's what the Buddha said. Okay, well, if you take it one way, it's pretty fucking depressing. Why don't I just put a bullet in my head? If life is suffering, fuck it, why do this? That's not what he's saying. He's saying literally life is suffering this way because we are infinite beings of some sort, spiritual energy, I don't know. We speculate that all day long. I believe we're in some sort of electromagnetic simulated universe. I mean, I can pretty much prove it with firm, hard, peer-reviewed science. Not woo-woo shit. Just a study of quantum physics alone. The Planck distance. Max Planck, the father of modern quantum mechanics. There's a distance named after him called the Planck distance. And it's called the Planck distance because they had to come up with a way to clip infinity. Because with all the models that they have for the Big Bang and how the universe was invented and all this shit, came into being, let's say, put it that way, the Big Bang and that theory and all that. They had to invent infinity to make their theory work and to make the math work. They just got to throw infinity in there. Well, guess what? You can't calculate infinity. None of it makes math work. So you got to clip it. You got to clip infinity. So they do it in several ways. They do it on the infinitely big numbers, and they do it on the infinitely small numbers down at the quantum level. The big numbers, they go with the way that they measure, what they call dark matter, which is completely intentionally badly named thing. They clip infinity with that measurement on the big scale by measuring cubic. What is it? Essentially the amount of dark matter that would fit, basically, let's dial this back. Basically, amount of matter that would fit in a cubic yard, let's say. It's more complicated than that, but so all they're doing is saying, oh yeah, we're going to make this infinity and this makes our model work, but it's really not infinity. It's really just a measure of whatever can fit in this amount of space. And then they multiply that by a lot of big numbers, and then they do a lot of really fucking ridiculously complicated math to make it all work when the beginning premise doesn't even fucking work, you idiots. And they all think that they're smart, and they all sit around and circle jerk each other and write peer-reviewed reports and give each other money and high-five each other at dinners and shit. And they don't even go from the right fucking premise. All they do and all their bullshit is clip infinity. And what they're doing really is coming up with a way to define how can I explain this? They're really just coming up with a way to define analog. Analog, you know the difference between analog and digital. Analog, you know, things move in a smooth way, right? Digital move in steps. Well, guess what? Back to the Planck length. Max Planck, the father of modern day quantum mechanics, they named the the Planck distance after him because that's the theoretically smallest distance that can be measured. Like if you go all the way down infinitely small, as far as we can go, theoretically, the smallest distance is the Planck length. Well, and then they build on top of that. Well, here's the problem. If there is a Planck length, that means there is a minimum step. Then there means there is no such thing as analog. And every single fucking mathematical, scientific, physical, electromagnetic, you name it off the fucking charts thing is built up on top of this, and they sell us this whole story about dark matter and black holes and gravity and all this horse shit, when really what they've defined is a holographic simulation. We are living in a simulation, guys. Here's a tiny little thought experiment you can do just to put yourself where they're already. For one, none of us actually remember being born. Okay, hold that thought for a second. Now we know with the arc of technology, the what's the law? I already been blanking on it. We know the arc of technology that roughly every 18 months computing power doubles. Now that law is been blown out of the water. Doesn't matter. But we know computational power and storage power increases dramatically. It's already gone parabolic. We're already moving into quantum computers. You can already log on right now. It's on IBM website. They have an API, an open source API. You can log in right now and plug in your app, your database, even a WordPress website that will create, it will tie into the API and tie into IBM's quantum computer and create a quantum entangled state for free in an open source API that you can just run in any app. So you can just say, oh, I want to create a quantum entangled state right now. That's fucking crazy. I could go on forever about this, but the point here, guys, is a thought experiment. Do you remember being born? No. We know computational power is growing exponentially. Video games are getting better and better and better. If you've ever been in virtual reality at all, you should try it. If you haven't been in it, you should try it. Especially the modern ones with the high resolution displays. Because now they're getting 4,000 or 8. Actually, the new one that Apple's rumored to come out with is 8,000 or 8K resolution per eye. That's a 16K resolution. That's better than what your eyes can physically see. And the reason they do that is because they need to display that during motion, because you get motion blur even with high resolution that your eyes don't really mimic. So you can still tell it's not real. Okay, so what's happening is resolution density is getting higher, and then computation, and then the video games are getting more and more realistic now with virtual reality with 16 or 8K per eye and 360 audio. So that changes. So you turn your head, your ears are telling you're in a different universe. Your eyes are telling you're in a different universe. They've got haptic feedback controllers now that vibrate and give you feedback on your fingers that tell you you're in another universe. Everything, all your senses telling you in another universe. That's just with existing technology with VR. So here's the thought experiment. Fast forward 20 years. easily within 20 years, we will be creating, it's already happening. Within 20 years, we'll be creating video games that you can't tell the difference between the game and reality. Not even 20 years. Shit, man. Go play a modern high resolution, 2019 level modern virtual reality game. Just do it. I'm telling you, it will freak you the fuck out. If you're thinking about these terms at all, it'll have you realize that here's the thought experiment. You can't remember being born, and let's say within 10 years we'll be able to create video games indistinguishable from reality. Here's the thought experiment. How do we know we're not already there? I can almost prove 100%. Almost, of course I can. There's a lot of things I can't prove, but I can almost prove that we're already there. And this is just a game within a game within a game. This is a fucking matrix, guys. We literally live in a matrix. It's an electromagnetic universe driven by our intentions, our thoughts, desires, and beliefs. Created this 3D holographic universe is built in the combination of the electromagnetic waves that really are a collapsing wave function of infinite possibilities that collapse into reality whenever you put your observation on it, or you put your thought on it, or you put your belief on it. Here's more proof. Two people can look at the exact same thing and give them completely different meanings. Just look at Donald Trump. How many different versions of who Donald Trump is there? Well, there's probably 7 billion of them. That's how many people. Well, which one is Donald Trump? Who is he really? Who are any of us really? What we call reality and all this stuff is generated by something inside of us, our chakras that are some sort of electromagnetic nodes that generate different varying frequencies of energy that vibrate off of each other and create this sense of reality. It feels like we've got a body. It feels like we've got eyes and we're seeing things. If we feel like we're seeing colors, we feel like we're feeling things. But you go down to the quantum level, you don't ever actually even touch anything. Nothing touches. This is just electromagnetic resistance on different levels. Smells, colors, taste, all of this. It's a simulated holographic universe generated by who you are at some sort of electromagnetic. Now, you can call that God or Christianity, whatever. Label it whatever you want. Objectively, we can look at it, measure it. Might be God. I don't know. The point here is that imagine that we are in a game right now and that we are trying to figure out how to play this goofy game when really this game is just a game inside of another game, and they're, another version of us in some other timeline is playing this game as us. Who knows how many levels this goes, because our perceptions are so limited. And people have near-death experiences or take different kinds of drugs and things, recreational and otherwise, and have different, whenever they start to change the electromagnetic frequency, awareness is kind of the word I'm looking for, but it's really more an expansion, because those kind of things all can lead you to shutting down those filters that we've built up. And really it's all just our body, our physical body trained to believe a certain way. The same reason that we react whenever we might think that we have touched a hot stove, even though the stove is completely cold. That's a program in your body that has you've come to believe that thing that looks that color and that shape in that location at this height is hot and is going to hurt you. You take that and multiply that by everything, and that's all we got. So here's how I'm going to do it, guys. This is my belief system. I've thought way too much about this in my life, and I tell you, escaping the Matrix, you can do it. It's cool for a little bit, but it's just like in the movie The Matrix. Look how they lived. You escape the Matrix, you go live out in the wilderness or whatever, you escape society and all that stuff. Do it. Cool. If you can live that way, more power to you. I've done it. I can tell you, it's got some benefit. Pretty fucking great in a lot of ways. But I can tell you also, look at how they lived in the Matrix, in those submarine type things. It wasn't glamorous. It was pretty terrible. They didn't have any food. They basically ate synthetic oatmeal every day with no seasoning or anything. That's how escaping the Matrix is, and that's where the Matrix is such an enticing thing, and it's super easy to just buy into it and say, "Fuck it, I'm not even gonna worry about it." Because man, if you go down the wrong path with, and I won't say wrong, if you go down the negative path of looking at the Matrix as some evil thing that's invented by evil fuckers to control us and all trying to kill us, or trying to suck up all our energy, which is all true. But also, the Matrix keeps you safe. It's relatively abundant. It's the safest time in human history. A lot of ways. It allows people to just stop and play and just forget that they're in a game. They forget they're in Matrix. Most people don't know. They can watch the Matrix. You can tell them. You can show them all these things. And it's all around and everywhere. And no, they're just locked in the game. That's the easy way. The hard way is waking up and realizing that's what it is and being positive about it. Because at first it can seem super negative, like, they're stealing our energy, and it's like this system literally works by fear and greed, and keeping that fear and greed driving that energy into it. Without that, the control and the entire blinders come down completely. That's why mass media and money itself are two critical pieces to the Matrix to keep the control there. Make people believe that money is everything, and then have a communication system to reinforce that fear and greed constantly, over and over and over and over and over and over and over, all day, every day. Fear, greed, fear, which leads to nothing but massive narcissism and everything we see. It's super easy to do mind control on a massive population. All you got to do is repeat in front of them what you want them to do over and over and over and over again. Model it in front of them. That's the Matrix. So that's the negative side, okay? There's a lot of positives to it as well. So, red or blue pill, right? That's the whole thing with the Matrix. Take the red pill, whatever, whichever color, doesn't fucking matter. You wake up, we go find you, you're outside the Matrix, right? Well, it's a hellish experience at first, especially if you had a pretty damn kind of like interesting or easy life that you didn't realize inside the Matrix, and then you go escape it. This is literally what happened to me, guys. I didn't realize how good or how much I enjoyed being a part of the Matrix and the several pieces of societal contracts that I, had built around me. I didn't realize how much I liked steak and the taste of steak inside the Matrix until I left the Matrix. And then I'm like, oh, there's some stuff I liked about that system. So here's the key. We gotta do like Neo and Morpheus and all the other characters in the movie did. They learned how to use the Matrix, to play their own game, to enjoy it the way they want to enjoy it, and go back in the Matrix and experience the way they wanted to experience it. They made their own little gang. Their own little gang. They all had shiny leather suits. They're all skin tight leather jackets and like big flowing and all these jackets and leather things just happen to be by super high-end designers that cost $5,000-$6,000 each jacket, and they had designer sunglasses and badass cars and cool flip phones. You notice they didn't come back into the Matrix as a homeless person with no resources. I'm going to say that again. You notice they didn't go back into the Matrix as a homeless person or somebody with no resources. That's not how you play the game. No, you go back in and be a rich motherfucker and control the game, run the game, have fun, make it, shape the game the way you want to. Money is an invented system of control, and guess what? Nobody controls it. Except you. Your beliefs about money are invented by you, typically driven by your reactionary, done by rote over and over and over programming by your parents and the school system and society around you about what it is. None of it's real. It's all bullshit. Because it's all bullshit, we can invent it and make it whatever we want. And I can tell you guys, I'm going to be using it. You're going to hear this from me a lot to go forward. One of my favorite quotes, if not my favorite quote ever, that I've used in speaking on stage for more than 20 years it's a quote by Mae West. She said, I've been poor and happy, and I've been rich. Or sorry, let's switch her. I've been rich and happy, and I've been poor and happy. Rich is happier. I can tell you guys, I've been rich many, many times in my life. I've been poor many times in my life. And I can tell you, rich is better. I don't care what they say about money can't buy you happiness. That's true. But money sure can get you a long fucking ways closer to happiness. I can tell you that. And at least it'll get you a nice car to drive you to happiness. That's a joke, obviously. But the thing is, the Matrix is what you make it. Happiness is a fucking choice. There's no such thing as, oh, I'm going to get to happiness. My goal is to be happy. You'll be happy right now. All you got to do is go on Pandora or Spotify, fire up some stand-up comedy, listen to some jokes for a minute. You'll be happy like that. And I dare you to try to walk around with a smile on your face and stay grumpy and pissed off. You choose it. So, I left the Matrix. I said, fuck it, I'm done with it. I don't want to play part of any of that fucked up system anymore. A couple years ago I did. I made conscious effort to completely unplug. I said, done. My wife and I quite literally sold all of our stuff and moved to Texas. In the middle of nowhere, Texas, too. Not like a city, Texas. Like in the middle of nowhere. And we spent, I don't know, a couple years trying to, like, wandering around the desert, basically. It's basically leaving the Matrix. And I learned a lot, man. It was cool. There's a lot of positives. Again, you just try it. But I can tell you, here's what I found. I found it's pretty boring. Food's not as good. Steak doesn't taste like steak. And when you unplug from the Matrix money system, your wealth will disappear in that system because that system is designed to constantly suck out any arbitrage opportunity that's there. You guys that haven't heard from the beginning of this, it's critical you go back and listen to it, understand what I'm talking about, understand, because arbitrage and sucking out the last little tiny piece of wealth out of every corner of the entire system is what the system does. So to maintain being rich, to get to wealth, you have to have a constant inflow of new energy. It's just energy flow, new revenue streams, because the system will just slowly eat it up until it's gone. I mean, even if it doesn't matter how much money you have. It literally doesn't matter. It's not an amount. Even if you're a multi-billionaire, you die and you don't have a certain set of the right paperwork, the system in place before you die, the system will eat it up. Lawyers and families and the court system and like just estate taxes and like, it doesn't matter how much money there is. It will fucking disappear. The system eats itself. And the reason the system eats itself is because it's not real. All you got to do is unplug it and it disappears. So that's all a powerful thing to know, because now we can go back in and inject our own energy and beliefs and direct that energy, understanding how the matrix works. You can uncap unlimited wealth. You just got to believe it. And this is not some spiritual thing. It's become a spiritual thing, but this is literally how the system works. It's the matrix, the system of control. None of it's real. It's a Monopoly game. So play it. I can tell you guys, prosperity is way more fun. Being rich is way more fun. And that's really what it's about. In the end, life is just about experiencing. And you're not experiencing if you're not having fun. You're worried about bills. You're worried about staying status quo, staying in the matrix, either trying to stay dramatically plugged in and forgetting and intentionally trying to shut off and stay an average. That takes a lot of energy. That's why a lot of people are fucking depressed, because the real inside wants to get out and have fun and experience. But they've intentionally chosen to push that down and to stay in the matrix. It's just simply a choice, man. So play the game. I'm going to play the game. I'm going to go have more fun than I've ever had in my life. I've made a ton of money, and it's not about money anymore. It's about an invented system of control that now I get it, motherfuckers. I can control it myself. So can you. So we're going to do that in all kinds of interesting ways. So pay attention, guys. We're going to do interesting things going forward. So that's it for today's Money Monday. Appreciate you all. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. For you guys that are members to Mogul Apprentice, I'll see you in Tech Tuesday. Have a good one, guys. Later.